Tonight we have Brittany and Kelly Jeanine from the Blher podcast. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
So let me tell you about Blher. Blher podcast. On their podcast, they take on the world one social issue at a time and highlighting the perspectives of two young Black professional women. They cover everything from politics, law, religion, pop culture, and the day-to-day through storytelling and discussion. So again, please welcome Brittany and Kelly Jeanine to the show.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I just want you guys to start off by telling us a little bit more about yourselves and make sure you include at least one thing up there that we can't go and Google about you. Who's starting, Brittany or Kelly?
I can start.
All right, go ahead, Kelly.
I don't know. So I'll kind of tell my perspective of how our podcast came to be in a fun fact. But so Brittany used to live in California. That's where I am right now. And we had a book club with a friend who probably didn't know what she was getting herself into by putting us in the same room. I don't think we were really necessarily friends yet, but the very first book that we read was the Autobiography of Malcolm X, and let's say we got opinionated, we got loud, we asked the hard questions, and a little bit later from that, Brittany kind of reached out and was like, I think we have good chemistry where we could explore this a little bit more. So yeah, that's kind of how we came to be and became friends, and the podcast was birthed from that. But I think we hinted at this a little bit before when we were just setting up and stuff. But I think the thing most people don't know about me is just that I'm a Minnesotan living in California. It's a very I feel like I don't know. The more that I live places, people don't know a lot about Minnesota, or it's just kind of a state a lot of people don't think about. So I kind of like to rep it.
Is Minnesotan, is that what you actually refer to yourself as? Minnesotan? Is that the actual term?
I would say Minnesotan. I've never.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Are you just trying to get me to say Vale?
Minnesota.
What about you, Brittany?
So yeah, just piggybacking off of what Kelly already said, and I'm just gonna note she kind of shaded me a little bit because we were definitely friends for at least a year in my mind before we started book club. Okay. I forgive you. But yeah, it was great kind of putting it together, and Kelly had all the controversial ideas, and I just kind of came to the table with the name, which, as you already mentioned, was Blher, and it's just a combination of the words Black and her, because it was really important to us to make sure we focused our dialogue on the perspectives of Black women, and really highlighted those voices on social issues. Outside of podcasting, I work in the policy and legal field. So, Rob, you said something about America having too many lawyers. Try not to take it personally.
More shade. But Brittany's getting all the shade today.
All of the shade, but it's fine. And Gianni, you mentioned that you're in Atlanta, and that's actually where I'm originally from. So I think I like you most over there because Atlanta's my hometown and I love it forever. But yeah, outside of those things, because I think those are probably Googleable things, I will say I am a Kendrick Lamar enthusiast, and I played volleyball in high school.
Love him.
Volleyball, hey, that's like my favorite sport.
Wow.
It's really fun.
It is. Volleyball. Matter of fact, I can't wait till COVID's over so I can get back out there and start playing. Start playing some sand. I get my vaccine, my second vaccine next week, so I'm get out there and start playing soon. Love some volleyball.
Yeah. Sand volleyball, like beach volleyball, is a different beast.
It is.
It's hard. Yeah,
it is. It is. Yeah, I switch up from time to time. Just depends on like the weather. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I'm digressing here. All right, so I hope you both heard our quickfire question. But do you guys think the world is getting a little too litigious, or are you guys feeling like people have the right to hold others accountable?
I guess I'll start with that. It seems like a lawyerly question.
That's what I figured.
I wouldn't say. I think when we're thinking about litigation, sometimes you have to think of like the purpose. So a lot of times, not to get like too deep into things, I think that people think that people go to court solely for the purpose to win. And sometimes it's not necessarily that you're going to court for the purpose to win. You might just be going to court to raise the fact that there is an issue somewhere, or to even inadvertently get to a different issue. So I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that this is the case with the Taco family. I'm sorry, I don't know their names. I don't know that this is their case. But you know, I think anytime you're dealing with the premature death of a loved one, you know, you kind of you might act out of either emotion, or you might legitimately think that you have a case. I will note that a lot of times civil attorneys, which would be the attorneys that handle wrongful death litigation in the U.S., they often don't get the bulk of their pay unless they win the case.
Mm-hmm.
And it will usually come out of the settlement. So a lot of times those attorneys won't take on things unless they think they have a fighting chance, or at least if they could get a settlement, even if it doesn't actually go to trial or anything. So that's something, you know, to notice or to highlight. I think, generally speaking, I'm interested to see, not really interested, but with the impact that COVID has had on the U.S., I'm curious to see what type of wrongful death, if any wrongful death litigation comes out of the way it's been handled. So that was my tangent.
Interesting.
Oh, I love that tangent.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What about you, Kelly?
Well, Brittany gave the smart answer. So I think that as someone whose profession has often included in event planning, for me, I come from that perspective of that is every event organizer's worst nightmare. And the fact that they had first aid present, and that still unfortunately didn't make a difference. I'm sure the event organizers are looking at what can we do differently? Are there parameters or rules we can set up for people to, I don't know, keep an eye out for how to approach eating better, coming from a place of never ever trying something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really unfortunate. But I know there's probably some event organizer who just feels horrible that they had EMTs present and it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
All right.
perspective.
So I'm gonna get to my co-host in a second, but I just want to ask one last question. So I was able to listen to a bit of your podcast before showtime, but let me ask you, if I had 1 hour to spend right now, which episode would you suggest I go listen to, and tell me why you think it's important for me to hear that episode? I'll let either one of you. I'll let you jump in.
So loaded.
That's
What's
a really
your
good
favorite
question.
episode?
That's a really good question. You want to go first, Kelly?
I know I'm gonna cheat and pull up all of our episode list.
Yeah. Because you guys have been in business for years, so there's a lot to choose from.
I mean, you just mean just go ahead.
Whatever. If like okay, so right now I'm sitting here with an hour, and I'm like, hey, I want to check out Blher. What episode would you say check this episode out? You'll get hooked, and you'll come back, and then why is it so good? Because in my mind, I have an idea of which one I would send people to, but I mean, yeah. So go ahead, but I'll let you go.
I would say the episode Attempting Democracy, which is actually one of our more recent ones. To me, that one, or there's one called From Protests to Ballots. To me, those feel the most practical, given the need to focus on both local, staying engaged locally, and also understanding like the work doesn't stop when a presidential election is over, and that there's other elections that are just as important, and just discussing ways to get involved in that way. So those are probably the direction I would send you. We have said that our podcast does also have a lens thinking from the perspective of Christianity as well. So we also did a really fascinating guest interview with the Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney, who talks about theology from the Black womanist perspective. So if that's your jam, I would say that's a really fascinating interview. But if I just had one to send to someone right now, I feel like anything related to just staying civically engaged is probably the most urgent.
I love that.
Mhm.
Brittany.
Like,
Yeah, Kelly, you took like some of the ones I had at the top of my head too.
That's good.
But I would say if you had an hour right now, the episode I would send to you it'd probably be one of our more recent ones. Well, it's August of last year we put it out, which is Anti-Racism, Activism, and Law. And it's a conversation with Professor Jeffrey Baker from Pepperdine School of Law, who runs their clinics, their law clinics there. And the reason I would choose that episode is because Professor Baker is a Caucasian Southern man. He's from the U.S. South. I'm a Black woman from the U.S. South. Kelly is a Black woman from Minnesota. I'm sorry, I can't think of the region.
North.
And
North.
yeah, North.
Kelly shaking her head.
And I feel like the conversation that we have and our life experiences that we share in that episode, I think really draw or illustrate a good picture of the intersections of race on our lives and culture and American culture, if there really is one, and Black American culture and how that intersects and how racism and activism and everything kind of ties into so much of our social identity. And I just think it's a good encompassing episode and kind of launch pad for some of the other issues that we get into on the podcast. Alternatively, I'd say we have a couple of episodes entitled A Black Woman Can. So I'm all for like boosting that up as well. But I think that would be the one I would start with.
Awesome. All right, get to some of these quick comments online real quick. We have Jacqueline Robinson says, all politics is local. The GOP figured this out decades ago. Great point about local politics. Olivia says, the whole time I thought it was BL Her, but it's Blher. I get it. Love the name. So creative. So creative. And I just want to point out Taxiing on Twitch TV because whoever that is, they tune in like every single show. So I want to thank you for joining Taxiing.
Thank you.
But let's get to some of the questions from the co-hosts. Let's start with Gianni.
What are some topics that you guys talk about specifically that you find people interacting with? Or I know that you're on Buzzsprout, but do you find people commenting with or giving their opinion back?
You know, I think, Kelly, that we have gotten probably a lot of traction or interaction whenever we discuss feminism and womanism, like generally. I think maybe one of our earlier episodes was about feminism and kind of defining it. And I will say, even in my personal circles, like it sparked a conversation with my dad, it sparked a conversation amongst friends. And I think a lot of our listeners kind of tuned in on that just because the term feminism or womanism can feel so polarizing, and people have so many different ideas and stereotypes around what they think it actually is, versus and how it's actually implemented. So I think that's probably one subject we get a lot of interaction on.
Nice.
Very feminism.
All right, Robbie. Or unless you want to jump in, Kelly. Okay, Robbie.
So first, I have a personal question for Brittany. The painting or the artwork that's hung up behind you, just what medium is that? Because it just looks really neat.
You know, I'm glad you asked. Let's see if I can take it down a little.
Don't drop it.
Yeah, I won't. This is a piece of work done by my aunt, actually. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
You can find her on Instagram. Her Instagram is the Mosaic Village, I believe. And obviously it's kind of a picture of a young Black woman, but she uses fabric to kind of put it all together. And she's done a lot more. She's pretty popular in Atlanta. So for those of you out there, that's her work. Okay. But it was a graduation gift for me when I graduated from undergrad. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. All right, so I'm going to direct my question just to the top half of the screen then. Who has influenced you the most in terms of podcasting, social media?
That is a great question. One of my favorites on Twitter right now is Bree Newsom. She's actually the activist that became famous for scaling the flagpole and taking down a Confederate flag. And she comes from a real like abolitionist mindset and also faith-based as well. And that I really find her work very fascinating. Um, what other podcasts do I love? I also love Code Switch, which is an NPR one.
Mm.
I also listen to some very nerdy podcasts just to throw out there. There's one called Welcome to Night Vale. That is just one of my pillar favorites. It's just like a sci-fi radio show story that continues on
Oh,
over a couple of
cool.
seasons.
Oh,
You like sci-fi?
Yes, I'm really big into sci-fi. And then Tessa Thompson actually voiced another similar podcast last summer. So I kind of listened to that straight through during COVID.
Wow. Yeah, Robbie Rock was recently a guest on the Nerdpocalypse podcast. Because Robbie Rock is our resident nerd. Not that the rest of us aren't, but he claims it.
Yes. Fans.
I'm up for any challenge. I'm up for any nerd challenge. Let's do it.
All right.
I'll just have to figure
Let's get to Jose's question.
So, looking on your Instagram, your website, and Buzzsprout, I know that a lot of the subjects that you do discuss are quite heavy, quite emotional, if you will. And my question to both of you is, what do you do to make sure that you stay motivated, positive, and not feeling beaten down? Because I know there's times with our show, we get into heavy duty subjects and then it just sticks with you. So, and looking at your website and Instagram, it looks like you're really into self-care as well. So, what do you do to make sure, what is your self-care? How do you make sure that you take care of yourselves?
Great question.
Honestly, I will say, well, I'll just start off and say that, like, at times it is difficult. I just want to highlight the benefit of working with someone like Kelly, who is so like competent and understanding and intentional about so much of what we do. And takes into consideration life happens. So for me, having that comfort level, like with her, like in this partnership, has made my ability to say, hey, I need to take a step back, feel a lot easier, and a lot less burdensome. And I just think by nature of the type of work that me and her both do outside of the podcast, it's very easy for us to get overwhelmed and burdened down with the issues of the world. But like you said, we are big on self-care. So my self-care thing is I take lots of bubble baths. I probably shop more than I should. Maybe vacation a little more. Of course, last year made that really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's my
I take the time to do that, and working with someone who's understanding of that makes me feel less. It makes me feel better about taking the time to do that. So I appreciate her for that.
Nice.
Very nice.
What about you, Kelly?
I feel so touched, Brittany. I feel like we just had a bonding moment again. I really echo that. I think what's been a big shift for me, just even in how we approach this project, is that as I've grown to just understand my beliefs and my core better, I just feel like we try to separate what we do from almost this like capitalistic driven influencer approach to social media and Instagram and podcasting and too, and the constant need of like, how are you going to monetize? So I think once I stepped back and said, we're not trying to be that Instagram baddie podcast where we like become huge influencers with 1 million followers, it kind of freed us to be more intentional to say, how are we speaking to the moment in a way that also takes care of ourselves and knowing the type of work that we're doing in our 9 to 5. So we really try to break free from that mold of not trying to fit into a certain bucket of how people feel like we have to approach this type of work. On a personal level, I'm really into hiking. I would say lazy hiking because I'm not gonna like scale a mountain or anything, but just being out in nature, going on a nice like 2 to 3 mile hike in California. That's my jam. And then I have a self-care playlist on Spotify where I have a bunch of like affirmations or meditations from different women of color that I try to just assemble.
Nice.
So I'll just take a walk in the sun and play that over and over again until I feel like I've internalized it and found my inner peace again.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we are definitely running out of time, unfortunately, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of, any last words that you want to share, and then tell people how they can find you, find your podcast, and then at some point I want to see, I, I love your energy, so maybe we can get you back and have you guys join us for like some deep conversation. So I mean, but
Yeah.
for right now, just any final
Definitely.
thoughts you have, and just
It
share
definitely
how.
sounds like we tackle a lot of the same subject matter. It's just
But
very
yeah, right. That's
broad
what I
and
was
it's
thinking.
impactful in
Absolutely.
society. So yeah, it would be that would be
It'd be
fun.
cool to hear different perspectives.
Definitely.
Um, last thoughts, take care of yourself. It's a crazy, crazy world. So, do what you can to stay sane. And yeah, follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Blher Podcast, BLHER Podcast. We would love to interact with you guys. And thank you so much for inviting us.
Oh man, it's great having
Thank
you. Great having
you.
you. What about you, Kelly? Any final thoughts?
I think my final thought would just be to not filter yourself for anyone. I've learned that the hard way after almost 9 years in a corporate setting. Be your true self no matter what space you're in. And Brittany put the links, but yeah, we look forward to continuing to be part of the Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans
All right.
community.
Yeah, well, we'd love to collaborate with you
Nice.
guys more. I just want to point out Sherry Blaine Priest says, amazing. Taking time for your self care is so very important. Our world is so demanding at times. We need to be diligent taking care of ourselves.
That's a word.
100.
All right, Kelly and
Right.
Brittany, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Thank
Have a
you.
great one.
Thank
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Oh, that's a great podcast couple, huh?
That was a great
Mhm.
energy. I love that.
All right.
Awesome.
Very nice.